have just traveled 8,000 miles around the globe to deliver a message.
President Trump has made significant efforts to attract Indian American voters. But will his efforts pay off at the polls?
Actually, it's funny. I grew up watching Fox News.
I do like things about Republican where they're not mandating anything.
The stereotype that women are not leaders is one that we really need to dissipate.
According to a recent study by YouGov, 72% of Indian American voters said they were more likely to vote for Joe Biden. Indian Americans make up less than 1% of registered voters, but they are the wealthiest immigrant group in the country. This election season, they have given $5.4 million to Biden and his allies, and $3 million to President Trump and his supporters. When Joe Biden announced Kamala Harris as his running mate, there was speculation about whether her Indian heritage would encourage voters to support her, or if her criticism of the Indian government's policies would be a turnoff.
Kamala Harris is turning out the Indian American community to the polls this season. 45% of our respondents said they were more likely to vote because of her addition to the ticket. Now, in theory, she could either mobilize support for the Democratic ticket or mobilize people against. And we found, in fact, she is having a net positive impact for the Democratic ticket.
It is a beautiful thing, like seeing my mom get excited about seeing a South Asian in the White House, potentially, in the second highest office in the land. I think that does a lot for how we view ourselves, and I think a lot of South Asians will grow up with this feeling of wanting to be white.
For many Indian Americans, Kamala Harris is a progressive candidate. She has expressed support for Dalit rights and the freedom of Kashmir, a disputed region in the Northwest.
She represents a brand of South Asian identity that I want to look forward to, which is a brand of South Asian identity that's very attentive to questions of race. It's very important for Indian Americans to remember that her mother chose to raise her as a black woman. This is a political decision, and Indians, as you know, are notoriously racist. So I think it's important for me that the kind of South Asian we vote for is one who embodies the best of us and not the worst of us.
I actually was born and raised in India, in a place called Uttar Pradesh that's close to Delhi. In 1999, I got a job in America. It was a great feeling, like, okay, I can support my daughter. I'm actually not very political, but just in the past, say, couple of months, and even this, I never used to watch debates, but this time I have. It's basically the immigrant rights and what Trump has done, like separated kids from their parents. That is so heartbreaking. So that's why I'm voting Democrat, for just basically women's issues as a person. You know, I have a daughter and I want her to be able to be free and her choices.
When you ask Indian Americans, what is it that really animates you this election year? People respond with things like healthcare, the economy, jobs, racism. Foreign policy, specifically US-India relations, doesn't really show up on their radar. Just 3% of Indian Americans said that was going to be the #1 election issue for them.
I think about climate change. As a Sikh American, like the earth, plants, trees, these are sort of the bedrock and the foundation of Mother Earth, and a huge part of the Sikh philosophy is to protect and to preserve Mother Earth.
Historically, Indians in America lean heavily Democratic, but President Trump has made specific campaign efforts to appeal to the Indian American community, including a rally in Houston with India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, in 2019.
Our country. You enrich our culture, you uphold our values, you uplift our communities, and you are truly proud to be American.
Trump and Modi have held multiple rallies, both in the US and in India, and have mobilized their populism. And I use the word populism in the ways in which we used to use it when we studied early 20th century Italian fascism, where the idea of the popular was used to mobilize people to follow autocrats like Trump and Modi. So their collaboration has yielded enormous support in the United States.
But Trump has also been criticized for alienating immigrant communities.
Literally, I was in Pittsburgh when Trump got elected. The following day, my mom called me and asked me not to wear my turban.
Whether they're supporting Trump or Biden this election, the Indian American voter community is a growing force.
remember that Indian Americans, their median household income is double the national average. And so that makes them a really important source of campaign contributions and just sort of overall vote mobilizers. And so I think that from here on out, you are going to see both Democrats and Republicans continue to court their votes.
In America, at least policy-wise, you have input and your vote matters.
It's an exciting time to be Asian American. It's an exciting time to be South Asian. I think we say this probably every election, but I genuinely think this is like an inflection point for our communities. We're not only being like recognized by our like political and election apparatus, we're an active part of it.